Lloyd, it's going to be 15 seconds before the final curtain. 1 second. That's right. We're live, Lloyd, but I just have to do one more thing. And it's your time to start to shine. All right, Lloyd, we are live, sir. We are live. Oh, my sight, guys. Hit the like button. You got to subscribe if you want to comment. Share this on your social media platforms. And might invite it's early morning for me. Invite folks. Make these sessions go viral with Lloyd. And I forgot to link to his YouTube channel. This is what happens when I rush. So I'm going to get the link to his YouTube channel. I'll pin it. Go to his YouTube channel, subscribe, invite him to your channels. Support this fine, handsome soldier of the Lord. So your time to shine, sir. What are you going to talk about?
Thank you, Sam. You know what I find strange is that I came onto YouTube as someone from a not a military background, but a security background, and my aim was to do polemics and discuss Islam from I guess a realistic, not necessarily a religious point of view. And lately, I'm getting more and more emails from people telling me I've taken them away from Islam. They're starting to convert, or they're going to get baptized, or they were a Christian who was thinking of becoming a Muslim, and I've taken them out of that. Or even atheists who said I've led them back to church, and many people getting baptized. And I get these, and I'm not an evangelist. It's so strange, and I get these emails now more regularly, and it's a really amazing phenomenon to see that to know that this is happening, and that it affects people the way that I'm affecting people with this information as I am.
Yep. Well, you may think you're not an evangelist, but when you're destroying lies, falsehoods, these satanic ideologies, and you're doing it as a Christian, that's evangelism, sir. You're doing polemics, which we need to do.
Yes, so I guess so. Yeah. Okay. Well, so I like to start off with weird offbeat topics sometimes. But Sam, we have to talk about the fact that Christians are using the word teacher, Sam.
Are you
And the
using what?
Bible teaches the
Oh,
word teacher.
okay.
In fact, would you believe they're using the word Sunday school teacher when the word teacher is banned by the Bible? The
Exactly.
Bible, call no man teacher, let no man call you. This is blasphemy, Sam.
Exactly, dude. That's Matthew 23, 8 and 10. And by the way, verse 9 says, call no man on earth father. So if you ever made the stupid mistake of calling your dad father, you will now spend 50,000 years in purgatory.
Sam, calling anyone father makes you a pagan Catholic. Do you know that?
Exactly, man. Man, I'm glad you know that.
No, but the crazy thing is, why are we doing exegesis like Abdul's and only doing one line? They say, call no man father. Why didn't they go to the next sentence where it says, call no man teacher?
Exactly. Yeah.
Why are they not going the whole way, following the full Bible correctly? Why are they sinning by not banning the word teacher too? Is there something wrong with it? Can't they read?
Exactly.
And besides, Sam, by the end of this night, we need to find out a new word to use to call the man that impregnated your mother.
That's right. Well, I can say the man who was a sperm donor. The sperm donor. What about that? Can I call him that?
Bipedal partner progenitor?
Yeah, that's even better. See, that's more technical, but I think sperm donor would be a little easier.
XY donor?
That's even better. I like the X because I like alphabets.
Scientific. It's scientific, Sam.
I like the alphabets. The alphabets helps me to stimulate the mind.
I mean, we're going to have, besides, you know what? It says, call no man father, but luckily we're exegeting this just in time for 2023 where you can call a woman father.
You know,
doesn't say don't call women.
And that probably explains why my mom was like very tough. She was like the boss in the family. Maybe she identified as a father, and I didn't know it because at that time she was probably in the closet.
And my whole life, you know what? If these people hadn't told me about Matthew 23, 9 and 10, or 9 at least, I would have continued for the rest of my life saying Father Abraham. I'm from now on calling him Mother Abraham or AB baby or something.
Or maybe you can call Sarah your father. What do you think of that?
Your mother, Father Mary, Father Mary.
That's right. And then you can call, the disciples, you can call them sisters. Your sisters in the Lord. What do you think about
Well, we're
that?
not saying father. That's what's Brother Frank.
That's right. Timmy! The pagan, Timmy the pagan. Brother, get James Bob.
Sorry, man. It's just when I hear people, I've seen so many people quote, call no man father. And like, but the next sentence says call no man teacher either. So call no man rabbi. Well, what are we doing here? Let's go the whole hog. And it says, and if your right hand bothers you, cut it off. Like, what are we doing?
That's right. Then you and me would be we would be just torsos, no head, no hands, no feet. We'd just be a torso. And my torso, pretty big. I don't know about that, but yeah. These are the things I was taught when I was an independent fundamental Baptist, King James only, in my upbringing. They taught me the same things that I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. But again, this is why the Bible in the wrong hands is a dangerous weapon. Satan misuses it, so do his children. It's the Bible in the hand. It's like you giving a gun to a 5-year-old, giving a machete to a 5-year-old, a sword to a 5-year-old. It is dangerous. The Bible is a weapon to be used by those trained of the Holy Spirit to know how to use it lawfully. But anyway, sir, all I want you to know, can I call you sir or should I call you madame? I don't know. It's like I'm confused now.
We're going to have to...
Lloydia, not Lloyd. Hi, Lloydia. How are you?
I'm going to have to think about this and get back to you, Sam.
Okay, you gorgeous thing, you. You're so gorgeous.
Okay, so anyway, I was sharing my screen, so let's do that. Yeah, so guys, remember, the Bible bans, in fact, some translations are instructive, so we got to ban these words.
That's right.
All right, so don't delay, ban them now. Go the whole hog. Don't just stop at 9. Go to verse 10, ban the word teacher too. No more Sunday school teachers.
Right.
Thanks.
There's the link, by the way, to what he just shared on his screen. It's found on his community page. So there it is, guys. That's it. So now let's begin in Jesus' name as Holy Spirit anoints this brother and guides the conversation. Now, guys, Lord willing, after this, because usually we do 2 hours. So right after this, in about half an hour, I'll be going live again. So,
all right, yeah. So let's get moving. So today's talk is about atheism, socialism, and humanism, because these three are intimately linked. Atheism, socialism, and humanism are intimately linked, and we're going to talk about how socialism was started as a religion, atheism was started as a religion, and humanism. Even though atheists today claim, well, I'm not religious, I'm a humanist, because we're atheists, we follow science. That was a propaganda movement from the 80s, but humanism is a religion too. All of them are copies of, shall we say, fake Christianity, rip-ups of Christianity, wannabe Christians, right, who are extracting everything they can from Christianity while denying anything divine. And but let's jump into it. Let's start with this, okay? Some of you who know my channel will have seen this, but some of you who don't will not know what this is. So let's have a look. I've taken the names out, and we're going to ask you guys what the date is, and maybe, okay. The women of the city, wearing beards and dressed in men's clothing, come to the assembly and by a majority vote pass a resolution transferring all power in the state to women. So this is a parody that was written, okay? It's a parody to play, right? So the women wearing beards and dressed in men's clothing pass all the power in the state to women. They use this power to introduce a series of laws which are expounded in a dialogue between someone and someone else. And here are several quotes. We need compulsory universal community property. In other words, everyone owns everything. Everyone owns the property. No one owns property, but everyone owns the property. Is what I propose to propose. Across the board, economic equality. We need economic equality. We cannot have economic divisions, We need equality to fill those fissures that scar our society. No more divisions between rich and poor. And we will all wear the same clothes. We'll all wear the same clothes. Everyone's seen those, places where everyone wears the same clothes. I can think of one country that did that for a while. We'll share the same food. And we will communalize the land. We'll communalize the money and all property. Right? We'll take the landless man who is invisibly wealthy because he hides his silver and gold in his pockets. What about him? Oh, he will deposit all his money into the government fund, and that money will be shared amongst everyone, right? We'll knock out all the walls and remodel the city into one big happy household. No more walls. Take down that wall.
Yeah.
Is this all starting to sound familiar, Sam?
Yeah, take down that wall. No more borders.
Borders?
Huh? Nothing.
Yeah.
That's all.
Everyone can come and go as they choose. And I'm going to pool all the women, creating a public hoard for the use of every man who wishes to take them to bed and make babies. A system like this requires a pretty wise father to know his own children. But why does he need to? You don't need to know who your children are. Age is the new criterion. Children will henceforth trace their descent from all men who might have been their fathers, right? And who's going to work the land and produce the food? The slaves. This leaves you just one civic function. When it gets dark, slip down to dinner, and the state is not going to be cheap. We're going to be, our hand is full, our hand is open, our hearts are large. We're going to stuff our menfolk free of charge and issue them torches when dinner's done and send them out to hunt for fun. So this was written when? When do you guys think this was written? Any ideas? Does this sound like a modern play, Sam?
Well,
like modern? Yeah.
Obviously, you're asking questions, as this is probably a while back. But the fact is that what you're reading is now being carried out. It's coming to fruition. It's becoming a reality now in the 21st century. So whatever this was, they're already envisioning the steps they're going to put into to bring this into reality. But no, I couldn't tell you when. But
so this was written in 342 BC.
Darn. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, this was written 2,455 years, 75 years ago.
So nothing new under the sun, huh? History repeats itself?
Yeah, this was written 342 BC. So that's 2,300 and, 65 years ago.
Wow.
So this is, notice, it is modern feminism, it is Marxism, and these are atheists, by the way, just so you know. This is a parody. This was Aristophanes writing a play called The Congresswoman, or Ecclesiazusei, who was making fun of the socialist feminist movement of his day.
Wow. Nothing under the sun.
Nothing new under the sun.
Just
exactly.
Like says, wow. So they were doing it back then. Wow. So evil has been simply repackaging the same method over and over again, but it's the same.
The same ideas, same pagan ideas over and over. Atheism draws heavily upon old pagan ideas constantly. Even Darwinism, when I get into that, you will see is pagan Greek ideas repackaged. But okay, so what is this communism? So let's have a look at the word communism. It comes from the Latin communis, which we would know as the word common, which is also meaning universal. Communism, communis, universal. Catholic, from Latin catholicus via Greek katholikos, meaning universal. Did you know that, Sam?
I thought Jesuits went back in time and just tampered with things, but anyway, go ahead. I want to take
so communism means universal. It is universal. Just like the Catholic Church, it is trying to replace the Catholic Church. It is a religious movement, and it wants to be universal. It wants to replace Catholicism. And in fact, socialism, especially Marxist socialism and original modern socialism, is based upon a plagiarism of the Catholic structure, trying to model a political religion out of Christianity. So in Acts 9:3:1, right, this is where you see the word universal, katholikos, right? And so you've got kataholos, right, throughout the world, throughout the universe. Communism has to be universal, has to be throughout the whole world. So it has obviously worldwide interest. It wants to be dominant across the world, take over the world, if you will. Now, the first use of the word Catholic Church, literally meaning universal church, was used by the church father St. Ignatius of Antioch in his letter to the Smyrnians in roughly 110 AD. Notice he didn't use the word Baptist or the word Protestant. So, but yeah. Okay, so V.I. Lenin, Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, in his book Religion in 1905, yeah, and so Brian Santana says unreal. Yeah, this stuff goes way back. These are not new ideas. When you look at atheist ideas, they are regurgitating quite literally pagan Greek ideas from 2,500 years ago, quite bluntly, as in many cases was Darwin. So we'll get into all of that. So scientific socialism, yeah, pagan. Socialism. Okay, so Lenin tells us atheism is a natural and inseparable part of Marxism, of the theory and practice of scientific socialism. And in fact, Lenin and Marx and Engels and Stalin, all and Mao and all of these guys practice scientific atheism, right? So these are Marxist terms. So atheism is a natural and inseparable part of Marxism. Marx was an atheist. Lenin was an atheist. And it's part of the theory and practice of scientific socialism. So atheism is integral to the practice of socialism. The philosophical basis for Marxism is absolutely atheistic and positively hostile to all religion. That's in his book, Religion, page 17, V.I. Lenin, Religion. Atheism is an integral part of Marxism. Consequently, a class-conscious Marxist party must carry on propaganda in favor of atheism. Which is, he says this more than once. If you go through his works, he repeats this. We must practice the propaganda of atheism. And this is why I ask atheists, what is the difference between the atheism that you practice, which is scientific atheism, and the scientific atheism of some of the world's most genocidal people? What is the difference? And also, what is the difference between your propaganda against Christianity, your arguments, and those of Marx, Lenin, Stalin, Mao, some of the worst genocidal maniacs in history that you're very embarrassed by? What is the difference between your propaganda against Christianity and theirs? Well, they happen to be identical. So what makes you different? If A, you use the same name, use exactly the same propaganda, how are you not a socialist? How are you not a Marxist? How are you not Stalinist? How are you different? Still waiting for an answer for that. Religion is opium for the people, and that's not the full quote. They never give you the full quote. The full quote is much worse, but he says this on page 9, 12, 18, 26, 28, and 41. It says it quite a lot, in fact. Our program necessarily includes the propaganda of atheism, the publication of the appropriate scientific literature. Now, tell me, Sam, do atheists practice propaganda of atheism, and do they appeal to science and appeal to scientific literature?
Do I get multiple choice? Of course. That's precisely what they do. Now, just real quickly. So to be a socialist, you have to be an atheist. But does an atheist who's not very educated and doesn't know the origin, not all atheists are necessarily socialists, right? But to be a socialist, you have to be an atheist.
An atheist, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. We'll have a look at all that. But here's the thing. If you call yourself an atheist, right, you are literally following dictates of the Communist Party. So whether you know it or not, you are following in the footsteps of these genocidal communists, but also you are practicing their ways. So you are promoting their ways in the world, because having those ideas means that you have a certain worldview, a certain mindset, even though atheists will deny this high and low, but the ideas have consequences. But you'll say, but atheism is not an idea, it's just a lack of belief. Well, then your stupid lack of belief, your stupid lack of ideas also has consequences. If you're dumb as a baby or dumb as a rock because you have no ideas, that also has consequences. For more atheist Marxist Leninist propaganda, see the book V.I. Lenin, Religion. Okay, you can look for the words separ, S-E-P-A-R, atheia, and opium. Right, those are some searches you can make. I will come back to that book in a few pages. We will come back to that. He goes on, unity in this really revolutionary struggle of the oppressed class for the creation of a paradise on earth is more important to us than unity of proletarian opinion on paradise in heaven. So we'll go on and see what he means by that. That is the reason why we do not and should not set forth our atheism in our program. We should not let people know that we are promoting atheism. Because, you see, what he says here on top is that our dream of this future utopia means that we shouldn't argue against potential allies who are religious. We need to work alongside these religious people and not alienate them with our atheist ideas. So that is why we do not and should not prohibit proletarians who still retain vestiges of their old prejudices, that's religion, from associating themselves with our party. So we should still have religious people join our party. We shall always preach the scientific world outlook, or atheist, and it is essential for us to combat the inconsistency of various Christians. So in other words, absorb them, but still fight them. Don't obviously go against them, but our agenda, we'll see more of this, is anti-Christian, always. Your thoughts, Sam?
So now, when he talks about various Christians, I'm sensing that though they're going to try to approach it in a manner where they don't come off disarming Christians immediately, but they're going to capitalize on the fact that there are varying and competing Christian denominations and somehow pit them against each other as well. Would that be part of their agenda?
Of course, they will always combat Christianity somehow. We're going to see more of this. I mean, the combating of religion cannot be confined to abstract ideological preaching. Didn't we just? It's not just about having discussions. We need to find concrete ways of fighting religion. They're in combat against religion. Religion is their enemy. So they are not your friends, but they will lie and get you involved with them to undermine you. Down with religion and long live atheism. The dissemination of atheist views is our chief task. Now, here's the thing. The average atheist says exactly the same thing Lenin does, no different. So if you literally repeat Lenin and you literally have exactly the same aims as Lenin and you spread literally the same propaganda as Lenin, how is the average atheist not a socialist, Sam? I thought we started by saying, well, the average atheist is not a socialist. Well, yes, they are.
Yeah, because they're indoctrinated by the socialistic agenda, though they may not be aware of it, though, because it's like
Right.
like I was saying, what they are taught as atheists is entrenched in socialism, though they may not see the connection because they're blind in the beginning stages. But obviously, right, as they get deeper into it, if they're honest, like Richard Dawkins, he must know this, right?
Yep.
He has to know this, right? If he's that intelligent. So
Oh
Richard
no,
Dawkins.
Dawkins comes up. Yeah. No,
Okay.
he's of the same mindset. Yeah.
All right.
So is Sham Harris. Yeah. Let's continue. The American Humanist Association, sorry, the American Humanist ass versus Lenin. One of the most important tasks of the Cultural Revolution affecting the most wide masses is the task of systematically and unswervingly combating religion, the opium of the people. The proletariat government must withdraw all state support from the church, which is the agency for the former ruling class. It must prevent all church interference in state organized educational affairs. I believe that's happening in the US and the UK and Europe.
Yep.
This is an atheist aim to promote their atheist agenda. It is not neutrality. They must ruthlessly suppress the counter revolutionary activity of the ecclesiastical organizations. Does this sound familiar?
Yeah. Separation of church and state, Lloyd. That's what they try to say today. Separation of church and state. We don't let
And
our.
that is not in the original Constitution. That is
Exactly.
absolutely not. We've
Exactly.
covered that in the
See
past.
that, right? Because that's right there. What you just said is a socialist agenda. So you're basically telling us the American government is pushing socialism. These politicians are really socialists. They want to overturn and destroy the U.S. Constitution. So there you
So
go.
these atheists are the, shall we say, they're the lemmings, they are the useful idiots of the socialist movement. Notice how these atheist aims, and we know for a fact, if you're an atheist, you know for a fact these are the aims of your co-religionists, which means you are perfectly promoting Leninist socialism. You are a communist, whether you know it or not. At the same time, the proletarian state, while granting liberty of worship and abolishing the privileged position of the formerly dominant religion, carries on anti-religious propaganda. So it allows you to worship, but it carries on anti-religious propaganda with all the means at its command and reconstructs the whole of its educational work on the basis of scientific materialism. Now, tell me how modern atheism is not 100% promoting the Soviet agenda, because it is. That is this modern atheism is promoting the Soviet agenda perfectly.
That's exactly what I'm saying. What's happening in America is that there's a push towards socialism. And eventually, if it keeps going, it's going to be a fascist country. God forbid.
Yes, correct. Now, Richard Dawkins launches into a full on appeal for atheists to make public their beliefs and to aggressively fight the incursion of religion into politics and education. Kick them out of politics, no government involvement, and no educational involvement, but get your atheism into those two things. You see, so Richard Dawkins happens to have 100% alignment here. Dawkins' scornful tone drew strongly mixed reactions from the audience. Some stood and applauded his courage. Others wondered whether his approach could do more harm than good. And then he goes on to publish The God Delusion. Now, clearly, Dawkins is a Leninist.
There you go. And by the way, I didn't even know the slides, guys. What's ironic is I don't see his slides before we do the live stream. So when he starts saying these things come in my mind. And notice I asked about Dawkins, and he has a slide confirming that Dawkins knows the very heart and essence of atheism is that you cannot separate atheism from socialism, and he knows it.
Yep. And also, if you get to know Dawkins, you'll discover Dawkins is a eugenicist as well. Dawkins is a eugenicist. Don't be fooled. Let me continue. Dawkins says in his TED Talk, there is no room for a God in the world as he sees it. And he believes atheists should be forceful in opposing religion. Well, Marx felt the same. So did Lenin. So did Stalin. So did Mao. So did the guys in North Korea, for that matter. Isn't that odd? Isn't that odd? Dawkins happens to be a full-on Soviet communist. So, yeah. Yeah, so there you go. So the great masters of atheism, right? And that's what they call the great masters. The claim that atheism is the default position of atheists is a Leninist Marxist position. You've got Lenin, you've got young Lenin, and notice something you'll notice in these photographs of so many of these people, they always have these little devil horns. Notice the little devil horn look here. Notice that. You see that? They always have these little devil horns. It's a subtle thing, but it's often there. It's just so weird. Let's have a look. Lenin tells us the criticism of religion is the beginning of all criticism. So remember when they talk about critical race theory? Well, they're speaking of criticizing everything. It's not critical thinking. It's being critical and destroying everything. Imagine you get criticized all the time. Think about when your girlfriend criticizes you all the time, or your boyfriend. It undermines you. That's what it is. This analysis was accomplished with such completeness that later the atheistic character of the mature philosophy seemed to require little emphasis and was taken for granted. So these people are atheists, and atheists like to say, well, they weren't atheists really. Lenin was a Baptist, and Stalin was a Catholic, and Marx was a Jew, and blah blah blah. So the same is true of many Marxists, and not least of Lenin. It was not an accident, therefore, that the works of our great masters, Marx, Engels, and Lenin, contain no complete and systematic statement of their proletarian atheism. It is not usual to talk of obvious facts, which also means it's so obvious that everyone should be atheist. It's accepted by the socialists of the world that this is atheist. But also, these people have not given any kind of reasoned argument for their position. It's simply dogma. It's atheist dogma. Hey, welcome, Mal. Yeah. So of course, yeah, this is this is true what Mal is saying here. This is very, very true. So understand they've got no way to coherently explain their positions, because these major atheists didn't spend a minute thinking about how to defend their atheism. They simply asserted it. This is Lenin painted as a hero, okay? And when he dies, when they found out he was dying, we do not believe, written in the wake of the news of Lenin's fatal illness, we do not believe. And then after Lenin's death, the poem called the Komsomol Song, several songs were written, not just this one, was published featuring the omnipresent refrain, Lenin lived, Lenin lives, Lenin will live forever, right? And of course, he was lionized as some great figure, but understand, even under atheist regimes, you still need to have these, shall we say, religious themes running through it, because that's how you create a common bond. So the atheist regimes all created ceremonies and services very similar. They had baptisms, they had services and everything, just like the Christians, because they realized they had to compete, but these were atheistic services, exactly like what happened in the French Revolution. Forced secularization in Soviet Russia, while an atheistic monopoly failed. So, failed idea that they keep trying. Under communism, the Russian religious landscape consisted mainly of two competitors, a severely repressed Russian Orthodox Church, and people want to say a lot of things, but when Lenin came to power in 1917, there was something like 53,000 Orthodox churches in Russia. By 1939, under Stalin, there was less than 1,000. They destroyed over 50,000 churches, and a heavily promoted atheist alternative to religion called scientific atheism. Communists demonstrated a conviction to the doctrine that was remarkably similar to religious faith. These are from Berdyaev, Berlin, Karayanin, McDaniel, Zener. So a whole bunch of studies have been done, amongst others, to demonstrate that atheism is very religious. Scientific atheism, the official term for the Communist Party's philosophical worldview, and atheists, you know it and I know it, you're all scientific atheists. You all practice scientific atheism. Welcome to communism. They posited the ultimate purpose of human existence, a moral code of conduct, and created a collection of atheistic rituals and ceremonies that mimicked religious ones. In addition to developing this fake religion, Soviet officials heavily promoted scientific atheism. The doctrine was taught in schools, advocated in the media, and emphatically propagandized in books, posters, the arts during holidays, annual celebrations, and on YouTube. Convinced atheists could join the atheist organizations and meet on a regular basis in lieu of church. The primary atheist organization was called the League of Militant Atheists, also known as the League of Militant Godless. And of course, here's where we could have Dawkins telling us we need to be militant atheists. We need to be militant against the church. We need to be forceful against the church. So the League of Militant Godless was, shall we say, the brown shirts for the atheists, which was active prior to World War II and later replaced by what they called the Knowledge Society, the people of knowledge, the people with the gnosis. And of course, in Islam, you have the people of knowledge, the alim. Your thoughts, Sam?
Ahl al-Dhikr. Well, you guys, you Jesuits have done a good job to blame everyone but your secret societies. I'm impressed with your tactics. Brilliant.
Right, and scientific atheism was omnipresent in the daily lives of communist citizens. Atheist propaganda and rituals, in combination with the brutal repression of Russian religious groups, produced an atheistic church similar to state-supported religious monopoly. Atheism has always been religious in its expression. It wants fanatics. Right, so the premise of what I'm going to speak about is fake Christianity. So modern atheism was, and we have demonstrated this in our previous talks on atheism, and we will delve more into that now, as a replacement religion, a replacement Christianity without God, modeled on Catholic doctrine. It was integral to socialism, or Catholic structure, shall we say. It was integral to socialism. It was called Christian socialism by its founder to co-opt Christianity. Prior to the 1800s, atheism was the foundational belief of the first atheist state, which is France. And the first atheist state, being France of the French Revolution, went on to form occultist cults. And of course, they then went on to commit a massive genocide. Because atheism is the religion of peace, as we all know. And these guys were insane murderers. Specific reference to atheism being a religion has been common as late as the middle of the 20th century and as far back as the 1700s. Back in the 1980s, well, there were a couple of phases, but the last phase was in the mid-80s when they realized they'd made a boo-boo, and they deliberately started a new campaign to promote themselves as not religious, as scientific. It's a recent development, the 80s, that atheists deny that their religion is a religion, and secular humanism is also a religion. Like atheism, it is also associated with socialism because Marx was a humanist. All of these socialists were humanists. And let's explore. Sam, your thoughts before I go on.
So you're saying at first, excuse me, they would call it Christian socialism, and they would use Christian jargon, terminology, and Christian practices in order to disarm Christians to follow their propaganda, which is what we find a lot of satanic groups do, like Islam, will take Christian teaching theology in order to deceive people in thinking that Islam is compatible with Christianity, but then stuff you with its poison and its satanic teaching. So even socialism followed that path, huh?
Yeah, they all do. So, for instance, this is a thesis written in 1935, Boston University. So they want to investigate religious faith, commonly called humanism. Then it was well known, humanism was well known to be a religious faith. And they speak of representatives of this new religion. They speak of Charles Francis Potter and Roy Wood Sellers. And they speak of Potter's theology and Sellers' theology, which is all very interesting. I'm not going to do a lot from this. I just want to introduce the fact that you can find references going way back. And they say the results of the English Enlightenment were brought to France by Voltaire. And in France, humanism became anti-religious, even though they claimed to be themselves religious. They were a competitor religion to Christianity. Right, I'm not going to do too much on this. Probably I might do one more reference. And of course, they speak of religious humanism as positivistic and naturalistic. When they say positivistic, they're speaking of a particular philosophy. We're going to get to Auguste Comte. And naturalistic meaning atheistic, right? It's about the world only, about humanism, about the world, materialist, in other words. This type of humanist is a development of the earlier movement, the positivism of Comte, and they believe here that knowledge is relative. Knowledge, that things are, so they are subjectivists. See, this was the foundation of their ideas. It's all relativist. Okay, I'll continue here. Two Humanisms in Conflict from Paul Kurtz. He's a very famous, very well-known, I believe, atheist. And they speak of the devil and secular humanism, and they speak of humanism is a religion. I know there's a question there, but they actually do discuss that. And they speak of humanists' commitment to anti-clericalism, reason, and democracy. So they fight against Christianity, they fight against the priesthood, they fight against the church, but they themselves, as we're going to see, come out and say, we are religious, we are a religion, we are the true religion. So what you've got is the creativity of Adler and his disciples was to develop a new religion. And they speak of John Dewey, he's important, and naturalism as a basis of religion, right? And they rejected theistic religion, but believed in spiritual values. And they go on like this and on and on. And even though they were atheists, they would perform pastoral duties and conduct services. They called it a religion without God. You see, so yeah, but just so the aim is I'll go through these books later. I'll come back to this particular document later, but the aim is not to give an exhaustive view of it, but just to say, look, there is a lot of evidence here. If you spent the time to read through all this, you'd see there's a mountain of evidence. This is just to let you know that there is. Sam, your thoughts?
So here you're documenting from sources you didn't make up that it is religious, but it's anti-Christian religion, and they do have practices. And so this notion that atheism is a belief without God or socialism is actually put a life from the pit of hell, because they're promoting their religion, their ideology, their values, and their rights, RITES, and you're documenting it, right? So people don't think the religious rules. Search for truth.
People must understand this is another front that Christians have to fight against, because this is anti-Christian. They are targeting you. So, for instance, secular humanism is a comprehensive worldview. Now, atheists say, well, we're humanists. We're better than those Christians. Well, the fact is, and they say, well, it's just a lack of belief. We don't have a worldview. And the correct answer to that is passion, right? Because it's a comprehensive worldview. There's a theology, atheism. There's a philosophy, metaphysical naturalism, right? Ethics, moral relativism, biology, spontaneous generation, evolution, a psychology, self-actualization, shagging every woman you can find if you're a guy, right? Sociology, feminism, homosexualism, law, positivism, politics, globalism, economics, socialism. Do you understand? All of this is part and parcel of atheistic socialism and humanism. We go together like this. Sorry?
Comprehensive way of life, which is what a religion is. A religion is a comprehensive way of life.
Do you know of a religion that calls itself a complete way of life, Sam?
Oh, let me think. Nothing to do with Islam. Nothing to do with Islam.
That one. Yeah. Islam calls itself a comprehensive way of life. This is V.I. Lenin's book. Okay, you can see the cover here. It's called Lenin, Socialism and Religion. It's actually a real book. I didn't make it up. And he speaks here of socialism, which enlists science in the battle against the fog of religion. Okay, we demand that religion be held a private affair. Okay, great, it's a private affair, but by no means can we consider religion a private affair so far as our party is concerned. An atheist, which every socialist is, as a rule. So yeah, I guess he didn't know what he was talking about. He wasn't a real atheist. And then, of course, atheism is a natural and inseparable part of Marxism, of scientific socialism. The criticism of religion, and you can see all of the atheistic character, blah, blah, blah. Atheism is practically an accepted fact among European labor parties, and everybody loves to vote left. Understand, there's so many quotes in this book. We can go through bunches of them. Atheism is an integral part of Marxism. The demand for complete separation of the church and state, the church and school, right? We must win over the proletariat is accomplished. Propaganda in favor of atheism must grow. And emancipation of the people from religion and propaganda for atheism. He says it twice on one paragraph. Propaganda of atheism. I would love atheists to show me, how is your propaganda against Christianity different to what Lenin, Marx, Mao, and Stalin have said? How are you different? Because you're identical. So how does it make you not a Soviet raving lunatic? Yeah. Your thoughts, Sam, before I go on?
So I'm curious, not to go off topic, but so are they failing to indoctrinate and deceive the masses? Now, I know the power structure, the powers that be, the elite, they're into this demonic system. But are they really successful? Is atheism really spreading amongst the common people, or are people coming back to religion in droves? And are they failing to
Would
brainwash?
say yes. Look, Marx wanted a revolution from the poor, a revolution from the working class. Lenin realized that that didn't happen because England was rife for that kind of the social conditions in England at the dawn of the Industrial Revolution was rife for that, and it didn't happen. So Lenin realized, hold on, we need a professional class. We need an educated professional class in leadership positions who've gone through the university so that to capture the universities and capture all the management. Look how woke all these corporations are. Anheuser-Busch and the Bud Light thing. Look at Disney, how woke they are. They're losing billions. I mean, billions and billions, tens of billions, and they keep making these decisions that keep losing them more because they've captured the leadership, they've captured the universities, they've captured the minds, and they keep doing it. So the leadership's captured, certainly in government, universities, even in church. Whereas people want to be religious, they want consistency. These guys don't have consistency. The ideas are just insane. So this is a very famous atheist called Feuerbach, and he was a religious atheist. He said famously, what yesterday was still religion is no longer such today. So Christianity is bye-bye. And what today is atheism, tomorrow will be religion. That's Ludwig Feuerbach. He lived from 1804 to 1872. And all of the communists of 1845 were followers of Feuerbach. That's Friedrich Engels, because he wrote stuff based, he took religion, dissected it, and made his own little atheistic religious philosophy. Because you cannot base a worldview on, well, I just don't believe in God, you know, I lack a belief. Yes, Sam, any thoughts?
So far, you're just confirming the fact that it is a religion. It's a lie when they say it's not religious. It's a religion steeped in naturalistic, materialistic, and that you become the center of truth. And by the way, this is why at one point he quoted self-actualization. That's actually New Age. That's Hindu. You become your own God. Actualize yourself. So
It's
right.
Gnosticism. That's Gnosticism right there. Yep. So he wrote, man alone is our God, our Father, our Judge, our Redeemer, our true home, our law, and our rules. So in other words, this is incredibly narcissistic. You individually are the source, the rule of all truth, of all that is correct, of all power. But then, of course, this runs up against the guy next to you who has different ideas, right? You are the alpha and you are the omega of life, politics, morals, public, and domestic activity. There is no salvation except through the medium of man, right? This is entirely naturalistic. But at the end of the day, it always becomes satanic.
See, that actually confirmed what I just asked you because there was a quote. See, guys, I don't know his
Yeah.
slides. I asked a question and the next slide answers it. You must be prophetic. You know who's going to ask these questions.
Dude, Sam, it's a connection. And if you can feel it, it's like a, you know, yeah. So ideas rested ultimately, as said, upon matter. In other words, matter, atoms banging together make you think things. Okay. And the driving force of history was mankind's material conditions, not his spiritual or philosophical ideas. So he very heavily influenced Karl Marx. So in other words, your material conditions that you live in were the cause of everything you do, not what you think, not your spiritual condition, not your philosophical ideas. Of course, they want to force a bunch of philosophical ideas into your head so they are inconsistent and contradictory, but they don't believe that ideas, Christian ideas anyway, would change you. It's just like, if you give a guy an earth garden, he's going to become an earth person because, yeah, whatever. So for Feuerbach, religion was ultimately an illusion. So he's the man behind Marx, Darwin, and Engels. In the consciousness of the infinite, the conscious subject, that's you, has for his object the infinity of his own nature. So you are infinite, Sam. You have to gaze upon your own navel.
I have the capacity of getting infinitely large if I don't control myself on the buffet. So I don't know, some truth in
Yep.
there.
And he says, if man is to find contentment in God, he must find himself in God. You know, when he says find yourself in God, that's the Gnostic idea of returning to the Godhead by losing matter and your soul. You're a spark of the divine. You must find God in yourself, right? You are the divine. God is nothing else than human. God is essentially the outward projection of the human's inward nature. Now, atheists love to say something exactly like that. You know, God is a projection of us, except this guy is a bum chum of Marx, Darwin, Engels, and Stalin, and those guys. So atheists are very much in the same camp as all of the worst genocidal maniacs in history, but they're like, well, no, 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 those weren't proper atheists. I don't know how I got that quote there. Sorry. Obviously, you made a boob on my typo there. On my slide. A God who is not benevolent, not just, not wise, is no God. Qualities are not denoted as divine because of their godly association. The qualities themselves are divine. Now, that's an interesting point because Dawkins says the very same thing. A God who is not benevolent, not just, not wise is no God. Dawkins says the same thing. And they say that quality is not denoted as divine because of their godly association, but the qualities are divine. You see, therefore, if I do nice things, I am godly. That's what atheists think. You're not in your head, Sam?
I'm just saying how ironic. He means it in a different sense from Dawkins, but they're saying the same thing. Like Dawkins attacks the God of the Bible because he says he's not omnibenevolent. But his point is these are qualities of God, but in reality, it's qualities of our nature that we project onto God. That's the context of his statement, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Now,
humans are capable of understanding and applying meanings of divinity. So we apply our qualities to divinity. So in other words, we are the judge of what is good. We do good because we are good. We don't derive it from the moral teachings of religion or because there's a source called God that gives us these
we project
ideas,
that.
but
Yeah.
yeah, but we
Now,
do good. So if everything we do is right. Everything we do is perfect because we're perfect. We're gods, right?
here's what's ironic, the
You
contradiction,
know?
real quickly. Dawkins will attack the God of the Bible for evil, but then as an atheist, he'll admit he has no objective standard of moral absolutes. So you see the contradiction, but go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So the principle of man's salvation, of man's good dispositions and actions. So basically, God is the principle of you. You are God. Basically, it's just a long nonsense way of saying you are God. And as far as Marx was concerned, this guy destroyed God. His argument got rid of God. Man was God. We are the pinnacle of human creation. We are the peak of human creation, at least of the world's creation of nature. We're the peak of nature. There's nothing better than us. Bertrand Russell was a complete idiot, right? So we'll talk more about him. So Bertrand Russell, this is Atheism, 2 volume set from Cambridge. Okay, Cambridge University. Bertrand Russell is a grandmaster in 20th century philosophy and likely its foremost freethinker and public intellectual. Whenever you see freethinker, they mean atheist, idiot. Okay? So, were not so well documented, Russell's biography might appear exaggerated or even fantastical. He was a member of British aristocracy, the most influential English speaking philosopher of the past century, a Nobel laureate, literature in 1950, and a champion for social justice. Oh, that social justice stuff, all of those, Nordstroms being overrun by, by non-whites lately. Yeah. Anyway, Russell's convictions landed him in prison, blah, blah, blah. And he speaks of correspondences with numerous heads of state, cultural icons, and the who's who of the 20th century intelligentsia. This guy was insane. But okay, you can see he was very well connected. These ideas were part and parcel of the upper crust, right? And he says the whole problem with the world is that fools and fanatics are always so certain of themselves, but wiser people so full of doubts. Very well known for this quote, as if he was a very nice dude, okay? But Bertrand Russell, the practice and theory of Bolshevism. So he writes here, the Russian Revolution is one of the great heroic events of world history. It's only slaughtered a bunch of people and created a gulag system and enslaved Russia for like 89 years and killed something like 60 million people, but it was a great heroic event. See, that's the kind of morals you get when you're one of these people. And it is natural to compare it to the French Revolution, but it is in fact something of even more importance. The French Revolution was genocidal evil, but he sees these things as good things because they were socialist. The French Revolution was a socialist, atheist revolution. Right. Any comments, Sam, before I go on?
Yeah, and I only know of Bertrand Russell. I hear him here and there, but some statements he made in respect to Islam. So, but I haven't studied this. Someone said he's written 70 books. Oh well.
Yeah, well, he says here, he speaks of the former systematic like Hegel, full of hard intellectual content, appealing to historic necessity, blah, blah, blah. Hegel inspired Marx, okay? Hegel was insane. Hegel was a Gnostic slash Hermetic, secret knowledge dude. Bolshevism combines the characteristics of the French Revolution with those of the rise of Islam. So it's a good thing. Genocidal and crazy, right? And the result is something radically new, which can only be understood by a patient and passionate effort of imagination. So we need to take French genocidal revolutionary ideas with atheism, mix it with Islam, and then you've got the good stuff. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Okay. So by far the most important aspect of the Russian Revolution is an attempt to realize communism. I believe that communism is necessary to the world, and I believe that the heroism of Russia had fired men's hopes in a way which was essential to achieve communism. It's a splendid attempt, you know? So yeah. Good stuff, Sam. This is Bertrand Russell, hero of the West. Fantastic Nobel laureate. Don't say the guy was a totalitarian nutcase. Thank God he didn't run a country. He would have killed everybody. Wow.
So this is an actual quote, huh, brother? So he's actually saying that he believes communism is necessary to the world and that he praises the heroism of Russia. So he's actually endorsing it unashamedly in his writings, huh?
Yeah. So this guy, I mean, so everyone talks about how great he was and what a smart man. And he says, now, my own view on religion is that of Lucretius. And Lucretius, when I do Darwin, Lucretius is going to come up quite extensively. Lucretius is a guy who took ideas from someone before him. I can't remember offhand the name of the philosopher, but he's a famous, shall we say, atheist philosopher who came up with an idea you'd know as evolution. He might not have called it evolution, but a guy called Darwin took this idea and said, hey, that's some good stuff. I like this pagan Greek stuff. These pagan Greek atheist ideas are awesome. I'm gonna call it scientific evolution. Why not? Because if the Soviets can call it scientific atheism, then hell, I can call it scientific evolution. I regard it as a disease born of fear. So religion is a disease born of fear and as a source of untold misery to the human race. I cannot deny that it has made some contributions to civilization. It helped in the early days to fix the calendar. Oh, wow, thanks, man. And it caused Egyptian priests to chronicle eclipses with such care that in time they became able to predict them. Right? These two services I'm prepared to acknowledge, but I do not know of any others. Bertrand Russell. See? Good old socialist. Now, he writes here why I'm not a Christian in 1927. You can see the guy's face. I mean, this is not a happy man, okay? You will own nothing and you will be happy. We've all heard that from the World Economic Forum, okay? So we've all heard that recently. Sunday, March 6, 1927, at the South London branch of the National Secular Society. In other words, a bunch of atheists and humanists. He gives a speech in the so-called ages of faith, when man really did believe that the Christian religion in all its completeness, right? When man did believe in the Christian religion in all its completeness, there was the Inquisition with all its tortures, and there were millions of unfortunate women burned as witches. Millions. And there was every kind of cruelty practiced upon all sorts of people in the name of religion. Now, here's why I need to call this man a lying sack of poop. Okay? Because we've discussed, when I went through my talk on atheism, we went through the stats, we went through the numbers. Atheists have no figures to prove any of this stuff. And to say millions of women died is an absolute and utter lie. The man's either stupid or incompetent or malicious. Pick any one. Probably all three. Sam?
Tell us how you really feel, you Jesuit, you. Tell us your true feelings. Let it out. It's the therapy session. Let it out.
Is that like self-actualization? Is that what I'm doing this? So there were no millions of unfortunate women burned. The man is just, this is exaggeration. This is dishonesty. For such a smart, all three, I'd agree. All three. Now, that is the idea that we should all be wicked if we did not hold to the Christian religion. You're saying, well, if you weren't a Christian, you'd be wicked. But he says, no. That's not true. It seems to me that people who have held to Christianity have been, for the most part, extremely wicked. you find this curious fact that the more intense has been the religion of any period and the more profound has been the dogmatic belief, the greater has been the cruelty and the worse has been the state of affairs. It is the preoccupation with possessions more than anything else that prevents us from living freely and nobly. So you must have no possessions. You will own nothing and you will be happy. See, all of these great thinkers, it's wanting possessions. You need communism, buddy. I got the system for you. You find as you look around the world that every single bit of progress in humane feeling, every improvement in the criminal law, every step towards the diminution of war, every step, well, to have less war, every step towards better treatment of the colored races, well, thanks, man, or every mitigation of slavery, every moral progress that there has been in the world has been consistently opposed by the church. Every good thing in the world has been opposed by the churches of the world.
Let me guess. He must have the Catholic Church in mind again, right? Is that what he's talking about? But anyway, yeah, the church. So the church has been antithetical to what is good. And it's ironic, as an atheist, he has no objective standard for something being truly good or bad. You see the hypocrisy? They steal God's moral, ethical system and deny the God who gave them that system because they're hypocrites of the devil. Well, go ahead, sir. I just had to vent. Let it out.
That's okay. I know. So he says, finally, I say quite deliberately that the Christian religion, as organized in its churches, has been and still is the principal enemy of moral progress in the world. So therefore, we're going to give you communism and gulags and millions and tens of millions of dead. So yeah, so this is the kind of atheist twat that we've got to live with. It's the kind of nonsense these people come up with.
It's funny. He talks about moral progress. Now, guys, these are atheists. I keep harping because I'm laughing. They are so stupid in their zeal of dethroning God that God gives them a spirit of stupidity. Moral progress, as an atheist that doesn't believe in moral absolutes because everything's relative. What moral progress, you idiot? Let it out.
Yeah. So he writes in Lady Ottilie Morale in 1914, it is clear the socialists are the hope of the world. So you know what, Sam? Stalin, obviously atheists can tell us, well, he wasn't a real socialist. So yeah. Bertrand Russell, philosopher. Oh, Humanists UK. Bertrand Russell, philosopher, mathematician, academic, and campaigner for intellectual, social, and sexual freedom. He was a prominent atheist because, man, you're going to hear he wasn't an atheist. He wasn't no. Whenever they're embarrassed, it's like he's agnostic. And he wrote about this in his worldview, Why I'm Not a Christian. And he was a member of the Humanist UK's Standing Advisory Council. Yes, so maybe he was an atheist. Right, moving on. And he says, I ought to call myself an agnostic, but for all practical purposes, I am an atheist. I do not think the existence of the Christian God any more probable than the existence of the gods of Olympus or Valhalla. To take another illustration, nobody can prove that there's not between Earth and Mars a China teapot revolving in an elliptical orbit, but nobody thinks this is likely. Therefore, I think the Christian God is just as unlikely. So, one of the great thinkers of the 20th century. Right. Any comment before I go on?
No, I was just commenting. Someone was butchering Acts 2:44-46 to show that the apostles, by sharing all things in common, they were endorsing communist principles, so that those principles are biblical, though the communists have perverted it. I mean, it's what we call a special kind of stupid. So he's an example. When you put the Bible in the hands of someone like him, it becomes a dangerous weapon. But go ahead, brother.
Yeah, the communists, stupid. I mean, basically, hold on. What he's talking about is the most dangerous book in the Bible. It's called the Book of Acts. And he's going to Acts 2:44 to Acts. So yeah, the Book of Acts that's the worst book in the Bible. I don't know why. It teaches people how to use axes and axe people. The Book of Acts. I can see why he's concerned. Okay, now, the whole political vision of the left, including socialism, has failed by virtually every empirical test in countries all around the world. But this has only led leftist intellectuals to evade and denigrate empirical evidence. When the world fails to conform to their vision, then it seems obvious to the ideologues that it is the world that is wrong, not that their vision is uninformed or unrealistic. That's Thomas Sowell. You cannot disagree with him because he's black and you'd be racist if you did. So, Now, of course, you've got Voltaire, the arch atheist, who pretended to be agnostic, who pretended to be a deist. Scholars love to write about how he wasn't an atheist, anything but. Whatever you do, crush the loathsome thing and love those who love you. Crush the loathsome thing. He means here the church, specifically the Catholic Church. Crush the Catholic Church and love those who love you. Doesn't Jesus say something about even tax collectors do that?
Yeah, then you're no better than them. Luke 6:32-33. If you only love those who love you, what advantage is that to you? So he's opposing the teachings of Jesus directly, and he knows that's what Jesus teaches.
Yeah, but he's an agnostic, Sam. He's an agnostic. Any scholar will tell you that. All these PhD is Latin for piled high and deep. Don't ask me what exactly is piled high and deep, but it's piled high and deep. So Jesus said, if you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them. And don't forget, Allah teaches the very same thing. Allah demands the very same kind of love. And if you do good to those who are good to you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do that. You see, these are anti-Christian, bluntly. And as Christians, we need to know about these ideas. We need to oppose these ideas. So these are the French Revolution was a socialist, atheist revolution. Superstition, socialism, and humanism. Socialism and humanism. Superstition is a belief or practice resulting from ignorance. It's a false conception of causation. Now, Thomas Sowell just told us these guys are operating out of superstition, an irrational attitude of mind maintained despite evidence. Belief that is not based on human reason or scientific knowledge. Now, that thesis that I spoke of earlier, that I showed you guys from 1935, that spoke of humanism as a religion, atheistic humanism as a religion, amongst many sources I can pull out, but Humanism 1935 thesis, Boston University. The term humanism can be used to describe the intellectual movement of the 5th century BC in Greece. So humanism is not a new idea, 1930s, based on science, based on science. We're using science. No, it's Greek paganism from 2,500 years ago. This was initiated by the sophists. Sophists are liars, professional liars, and carried on by Socrates. The spirit of this movement is well expressed in that famous maxim given to posterity by Protagoras, that man is the measure of all things. And all of these socialists believe, man, your personal subjective view is the ultimate truth. Your thoughts, Sam?
Yeah, so they want to progress morality, moral progression, and the church is a hindrance. And yet they're admitting at the end of the day, it's relative and subjective. So how do you advance morality? How do you aim for moral progression if at the end of the day it's subjective and relative? So if it feels right for you, then it's right. Then how do you maintain order? How do you maintain a society that doesn't become chaotic, anarchy, and just starts doing whatever they want? Right? I mean, how do they see that, or they're just,
if everyone is right, then no one agrees, and you have chaos. Because also you believe that reality is what you construct in your head, that the quality of anything is only what you construct subjectively in your head. Now, there's another very famous theologian, a guy called Martin Luther.
oh, Muhammad.
German guy, started the Church of Germany. The Church of Martin Luther, sorry, he started the Church of Martin Luther. And he was I believe, a nominalist. A nominalist. So for instance, if I look at, okay, here I've got a black cell phone, here I've got a black mouse. Okay. What we believe as Western thinkers is that there's a quality called blackness. There's a quality of light called blackness. There's an external quality that exists objectively outside of us. And we've recognized that quality, the color black, in these two objects. But a nominalist believes that these two objects are completely unrelated, that you are seeing unrelated subjective qualities. You're applying an objective quality of black to the phone, of black to this, and of black to this, but they are completely unrelated. There is no external quality outside that is connecting these, that you are recognizing an existing part of an objective reality. You are simply applying a quality to this that's entirely subjective to you, and someone else could have entirely their truth, which means you don't have objectivity.
But hold on, I can probably prove that Martin Luther was right. What if someone's colorblind and he sees gray? Say, I got you. I got you there. See? See, you see black, but I'm colorblind, see gray. So to me, that quality is gray. So it is in the mind. See, it got you. Go back to Protestantism, become a Luciferian.
Sam, the only answer there is don't make your medical problems my problems. Yeah. Yeah. So the nominalist doesn't believe in universals or the essence, the essential nature of a thing. Yeah, exactly. So, okay. So, écraser l'infâme, French quotation from Voltaire, crushed the loathsome thing, referring to the Roman Catholic Church. All right. And he says, crush the loathsome thing. The battle cry of Voltaire was a fiery expression of his love of men, of liberty, of enlightenment, and of progress. Unless you were Christian, because in the French Revolution ordered you to be murdered, because that was the atheist thing to do. Remember, atheism or death. We love men, except that they're Christian. We murder those Christians. So the thing in question is superstition as well, meaning Christianity. Voltaire was against religion, specifically the church, and his writings are anti-Jewish, and he hated black people as well. So the guy was a complete racist. But okay, the language above is whitewashing and propaganda. We will learn exactly how vicious, violent, and bloody the implementation of this love of man, liberty, and enlightenment progress was, right? So Voltaire was a deist, supposedly, and he saw godlessness as weakening the sacred bonds of society. So they realized religion was necessary to create social bonds. The ceremonies gave people tradition that they could identify with. So he realized, well, we need to steal the traditions from religion and maintain them as atheists. He did say if God did not exist, it would be necessary to invent him because they needed something to give people to bond around. Yeah. Yeah, love men, but kill them in the service of these high ideals. Exactly. Yeah. So let's have a look. So he also contradicted himself in his own writing, saying, there is no God, but don't tell that to my servant, lest he murder me at night. Now you'll find variations of this, but you'll find different stories, and there's longer stories and shorter stories of it, but this is one of the most common ones. And yeah, so he knew there was no God, but the man was a serial womanizer, and apparently Ulrich, or as he called himself eventually, Huldrych Zwingli, was also a serial womanizer. Apparently the guy was stooping everything he could get his hands on. So apparently Zwingli of the Zwinglian Church, the reformer, was apparently also a serious womanizer as a priest. He had an affair with a married woman, amongst others. He banged his own niece as well. So the guy was shagging his own niece, his brother's daughter, which, yeah. Okay, so he was into incest, and of course he was egregiously racist, which somehow they forget to mention whenever they talk about him in history classes.
This is all for the purpose of moral progression. What don't you get, Jesuit?
Yeah, no, because you see the church forbids things like that. And of course, Darwin was also banging his cousin, and Darwin's father was banging his cousin, and Darwin's grandfather was banging his cousin. So it was all in the family for the Darwins too. So scientific morality is dehumanization. Science is not a moral system that measures or tests the material. It's not designed as a moral system. So I don't know how humanists claim, but they do claim that atheists do claim you can get morality out of science, out of a test tube. Okay? Islam claims to be Abrahamic. Atheists claim to be scientific, to give themselves authenticity. Richard Dawkins said that belief in anything that cannot be scientifically proved, i.e., faith, is one of the world's great evils. So, will Dawkins declare secular humanism to be evil because it's based on faith? It's a religious faith. We'll discuss that. So, yes, but Dawkins does believe in evil. There is at bottom no design, no purpose, no evil, no good, nothing but pitiless indifference. But then he'll tell you Christianity is evil. He'll tell you genocide is evil. He'll tell you shooting people in the head for no reason is evil. But he doesn't believe in evil. There is no evil. It's just indifference. So that's inconsistent. That's completely illogical. The man has no logic. You nodded your head there, Sam?
The walking contradiction, like I just noted it earlier, and I didn't even know you slide. So he'll talk about evil, and yet he knows that there are no moral absolutes. It's relative, subjective. So he's pretty much imposing what he doesn't like upon the masses. So he's a
Yeah.
genius, dude.
But he also rejects free will.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Like
he
Calvinists.
rejects, yeah, like Calvinists, he rejects free will, but you're wrong for being a Christian. You're like, okay, but it's not my free will. That's deterministic. And like, oh, let's see, 70+% of the world is religious. So clearly nature is biased towards being religious. You're wrong.
So your
But
brain is hardwired, programmed to be religious, and it's not a choice. So why are you condemning religion, Dawkins? You little hypocrite.
yeah, so understand these people, it's completely irrational. So how are people to be blamed for faith when molecules caused it? My molecules caused this. I didn't decide this. It's my molecules. Blame my molecules, Richard. And let's look at the logical outcome of science defining morality. I mean, like, seriously, Richard, you didn't reason your way into that nonsense idea you've got. Your molecules caused that, Richard. So let's look at science defining morality. Let's start with Yuval Noah Harari, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. Well, we've touched on this in the previous one. I'll do some more of this now. Human rights are not real, but don't tell anyone. Human rights are subjective. We all like to think that individual humans are important, but you're not, obviously. As Yuval points out, there's nothing scientifically special about any individual human. You are made in the image of God. You're nobody. Think of those two differences in worldview. Apparently, our modern prioritization of the individual is a leftover from the Christian concept of souls. Well, you have no soul, so what does it matter if we kill you? Voltaire said about God that there is no God, but don't tell that to my servant, lest he murder me at night. Well, Homo sapiens has no rights, just as spiders, hyenas, and chimpanzees have no natural rights. But don't tell that to our servants, lest they murder us at night. So might makes right. This leaves us with survival of the fattest or something. Right. So Dawkins on eugenics. From an article called Eugenics May Not Be Bad. This is from 2009, from 2006. Scotland's Sunday Herald. Now, he did not write the title. He gave a quote, okay, because the atheists go on about people using this, they get it all out of context. Yeah, okay, fine. So he gives the quote. Someone else wrote the title. I get this in National Review, which points to the article. Okay, this is a legitimate eugenic certificate. This guarantees that I've examined the sender of this card and find a perfect physical and mental balance and unusually strong eugenic love possibilities, well fitted to promote the happiness and future welfare of the race. Don't forget, Darwin was himself a eugenicist. I don't care what people have to say, but so were these guys here. So were these boys. They were also very much into that. Right. So Mr. Richard Dawkins tells us in the 1920s and 30s, scientists from both the political left and right would not have found the idea of designer babies particularly dangerous. Though, of course, they would not have used that phrase. Today, I suspect the idea is too dangerous for comfortable discussion. And my conjecture is that Adolf Hitler is responsible for the change. So as a biologist, he's okay with the idea, but people are not okay with it. But nobody wants to be caught agreeing with that monster, even in a single particular. The specter of Hitler has led some scientists to stray from ought to is and deny that breeding for human qualities is even possible. So if you turn those around, he is saying we should be, we could be, we can be. You see? The primary supporters of eugenics in the 19th and 20th centuries are Nazi scientists, the free thinkers. Ooh, atheists are free thinkers. Political progressives, atheists, and religious liberals. The opponents of eugenics are overt religionists of orthodox persuasion. Your thoughts, Sam, before I go on.
So Dawkins is basically promoting and all for eugenics. And though he sees how Adolf Hitler actually tried to implement eugenics, and he realizes that any connection with Hitler is going to show how demonic and evil the system is, still, he wants to be covert about it. Yes, he's for eugenics. It is scientific, but we have to be careful because any association with Hitler will actually show what kind of evil, filthy, wicked demons we are. So basically, he's using taqiyya, atheist form of taqiyya, deception. So nothing to do with Islam, though. Nothing to do with Islam.
Correct. So let's look at more scientific atheism, abortion, infanticide, and the Planned Parenthood. So this is from a book, Large Families, page 63. For the sake of those who find difficulty in adjusting old-fashioned ideas to the facts, the most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. Okay, well, I grew up in a family of 14 people. Just me and my brother made it, though. I guess that's normal. So Sam, have you planned to kill any daughters lately?
Man, that hit me like really hard. I have two daughters. To have a child and say, that it's merciful to then kill a child, man, these guys really deserve hell, and the wrath of the Lord Jesus Christ fall on them, and may crush them under their feet. I mean, to say that a family member, an infant, is to kill it, and that's merciful.
Well, yeah, and so this, of course, comes from Margaret Sanger in her book Woman and the New Race by Margaret Sanger, head of Planned Parenthood, founder of Planned Parenthood. And guess she was an atheist Marxist. Socialist. Let's have a look. Margaret Sanger founded the American Birth Control League in 1921, a public health nurse. She opened the first birth control clinic in the United States in Brooklyn in 1916. She has long been lauded as a feminist icon, feminism for the win here, and pioneer in killing babies legally in the name of science. Don't forget when she says if you have too many babies, kill one. She was talking about you have a baby you kill, not you're pregnant. You kill a baby. Do you understand where this goes? These atheist scientific ideas. So she's a feminist and killing babies legally in the name of science, i.e. eugenics, which is what we just saw Richard Dawkins was all for. Darwinian eugenics is a discredited belief in improving the human race through selective breeding, but also warfare. Now, that's something that people don't realize. Darwinism doesn't just talk about survival of the fittest through adaptation. What he quite literally teaches is warfare. Warfare to win, warfare to earn territory, to earn resources. And what did this guy, what did he do? He went to war. Understand? Because that is Darwinian. That is exactly what Darwin was promoting. Take your guns, go take their land, kill them if you must. That's exactly what Darwin was teaching. But also warfare targeted at poor people, the disabled, those you dislike, and any non-Aryans, as we know in one egregious example by this guy. From 1952 to 59, Sanger served as president of the International Planned Parenthood Federation, known for planning to kill babies for the reasons Sanger just gave above. Her father was a freethinker, believe it or not. Her father was an atheist. She joined the New York Socialist Party, and so was Darwin's father, by the way. Sanger joined the New York Socialist Party around 1912. Marx, Lenin, Stalin, and Mao were also socialists. See, but yes, I'm a socialist. I'm not like those socialists, you know. Sanger published 8 issues of the feminist magazine, The Woman Rebel, emblazoned with the motto, no gods and no masters. But she was Christian. Don't worry, Sam. She was a Christian. Brimming with articles about sex education, abortion, and the array of injustices that capitalism inflicted upon women. But of course, she was buried in a I think, an Anglican, what you call Episcopalian cemetery. So she was given an Episcopalian funeral.
Really? She was?
Yeah.
In light of all her views, how satanic, demonic, they still did that?
Yep. Damn. Yep. Believe it or not. Dawkins and Singer. Murder is okay. So Richard Dawkins, evolutionary biologist and prominent atheist, has been a vocal critic of Christianity and has used Darwinian science to argue against traditional Christian ethics. And the selfish genius asserts that morality is a result of natural selection and that religious moral codes are unnecessary. Remember, if it's purely survival of the fittest, and that idea is the idea of survival of the fittest, that nature is at war and nature is killing things to survive, that is false. That is complete trash. I've spent a lot of time in the African bush. Okay, from Africa, believe me, I've spent plenty of time in the bush, amongst wild animals for that matter. But this idea came from another pagan Greek scientist who didn't know his elbow from his kneecap. Okay, so Peter Singer is a philosopher and bioethicist. This guy has used Darwinian ideas to challenge Christian ethics. Singer thinks that voluntary euthanasia is morally justified. Disabled non-persons may be killed. Okay? If you're disabled, you're a non-person, you're not useful to the race. Therefore, you should be killed. And don't forget who else promoted that. A guy called Martin something. Do you know of a guy who started a German religion?
Yeah, Martin Ibn Abdullah.
He had exactly the same. Martin Luther, and this is a fact. I've had this on the show before. I've discussed it. Don't say, Lloyd, show me proof. Whatever. Martin Luther recommended, and the Nazis used this recommendation of Martin Luther's that the disabled be killed. He explicitly stated that this one disabled boy should be either suffocated to death by
Right.
strangling or drowning in the river.
Go
Martin
watch.
Luther recommended murder.
Go
Sorry, yeah,
watch sessions we did. He quoted it and gave you an actual quote for Luther. He didn't make it up. It's in our
yeah, I
session.
showed it. Yeah, I showed it. So yeah, that was Martin Luther. The murder the murder the disabled. No newborn should be considered a person for 30 days, and the attending physician should kill some disabled babies on the spot. This is a modern philosopher and bioethicist, Peter Singer. In Roman society, the pater familias, or the head of the family, had absolute control over the baby's life and could leave the baby to die with no legal consequences. Romans didn't kill unwanted newborns directly. They didn't like chop their heads off. They abandoned them on a street, or they threw them in the garbage, literally threw them in the garbage pits. The practice of abandoning unwanted infants was called exposure, since the baby died from exposure to the elements. And of course, who rescued those babies? The Christians. Who gave them homes? Who created orphanages? Not the atheists. The atheists were the ones killing them. The ones that, remember, atheists, they adore these Romans for their great philosophy and how they run their states, but the Christians rescued them.
Wow.
The Guardian, the most dangerous man in the world. Yeah, yeah, this stuff is rife. That's a hard quote. I mean, this is rife in academia. They've infiltrated the universities. This mindset, this evil satanic mindset, is all over the universities, and they won't come out and say it. Like for instance, Darwin was an atheist. He was obviously an atheist. Even Hitler was an atheist, but at least it very much comes across. He said he's materialist so often, but the fact is that it was very unfashionable to claim that, and also atheists don't want these people to be known as atheists because it looks bad for them. So he's a philosopher who eats no meat or dairy. Oh, that's holy. Oh my God. And he thinks we're no better than animals. In fact, he thinks a chimp has more right to exist than a person, and that killing babies can be justified. He's hated and feared for daring to challenge the sanctity of human life. Kevin Toulis on the controversial philosophy of Peter Singer. This is Mr. Peter Singer. This is Current Affairs Magazine, a magazine of politics and culture. Now, Peter Singer argues that it might be okay to rape disabled people.
This guy actually, they let him speak like this, and there's no outcry against this filthy scum lowlife bastard.
He's an atheist, Sam. He's smarter than us by at least 20 to 30 points. Atheism makes you smarter. He's a scientist, Sam. Yeah, it's disgusting. I mean, disgusting pig. What else can you say? The man is a disgusting, filthy pig, animal. So this is atheism. By the way, this is atheism. Atheists are going to go, well, I'm not that kind of atheist. I'm actually a dyslexic, agnostic, left-leaning, but I mean in a limp kind of a way, atheist. And I have, they'll make up some stupid category that makes them different. You're still an atheist. He's an atheist. This is atheism. Welcome to atheism. All of this is atheism. So, yeah, but Peter Singer, yeah, might be okay to rape disabled people. So, who agrees? Atheists, if there are any atheists in the chat, drop a 1. Let me know that you agree with all of this stuff. Please let me know because otherwise, these are atheists. So these are PhD atheists, by the way, PhD atheists, famous ones who hang out with all the famous people and get Nobel prizes. So I've done this before, but for those who don't know, worlds I would destroy forever, since I can create no world. Since my core, they notice never, coursing dumb in magic whirl. Feelings, 1836. So the question is, who wrote this? Okay, but I would destroy worlds forever. Right? I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. But notice this. Thus heaven I have forfeited. I know it full well. My soul, once true to God, is chosen for hell. How so I plunge without fail, my blood-black sword into your soul. That art God neither wants nor wists. It leaps to the brain from hell's black mists, till heart is bewitched, till sense is real. With Satan I have struck my deal. He chalks the signs. He beats time for me. I play the death march, fast and free. Who wrote this? Sam, you know this already.
Yeah.
But we're talking about socialism now. And
You read that in one of the first series we did on this, and it was shocking. Yeah.
yep. So this is Karl Marx. Yep. For those who know, this is Karl Marx. And I noticed that some time ago, a guy wrote a book, a historian wrote a book on this. I started to call Marx something of a Satanist because a lot of atheism is often cover for something else. A lot of the atheists of the French Revolution were out and out occultists, serious occultists. So they called themselves atheists to give themselves cover, right? And so now Marx seemed to be, well, he's an atheist. He heavily promoted atheism. He's been pushed as an atheist. They never denied being atheist, but he's a satanic atheist. And when you look at the Temple of Satan, the Church of Satan, they claim they are atheist organizations. Look at Anton LaVey, the most famous, possibly atheist of the 20th century. He claimed he was an atheist. He was promoting atheist Satanism. So it's religious.
Better believe it's religious. Yeah.
Yeah. So Marx had begun to lay the theoretical and what he believed scientific foundations of communism, first in the German ideology, written in 1845-ish, published in 1932, and later in Das Kapital, 1867. His theology had three main aspects: a materialist conception of history, right? Everything was just atoms banging together. A critique of capitalism and its inner workings. We've got socialism for you, buddy. You will own nothing and you will be happy. A revolutionary jihad to overthrow capitalism and replace it with communism. Islam is a revolutionary religion, and so is Marxism. They're both revolutionary. I don't mean revolutionary as in it's a new idea that's amazing. I mean, they will shoot you in the head because they will take their guns and invade. They believe in warfare because they are Darwinist. Okay? They're Darwinist. And Darwin requires killing the people you don't like. Marx's vision of communist society is perhaps intentionally vague. He was very vague in many ways. Unlike earlier utopian socialists, whom Marx and Engels derided as unscientific and impractical, including Henri de Saint-Simon, Charles Fourier, and Robert Owen, Marx did not produce detailed blueprints for a future society. In every case, they failed anyway. All of them, no matter what they did, they all failed. Marx's public education and graduated income tax are now commonplace. Public ownership of major means of production and distribution of goods and services, according to his principle, from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs, remains as radical now as they were then, and they've become commonplace strategies in our time. Your thoughts, Sam? You were going to say something?
No, I'm still disgusted and troubled by the stuff you're quoting from these atheists and their agenda, and that people are asleep. So when you're reading this, I'm still shocked about what they said about raping disabled children and that it's merciful to kill a baby. So, but sadly, Lloyd, a lot of atheists are stupid. They don't know this. We need to make these sessions go viral. You guys have to do your part. You can take my material, upload them, share them, start sharing the facts. Go to his YouTube channel. I pinned to his YouTube channel. Subscribe, get his documents, support him financially. It's disgusting their agenda to even talk like this out and about in public without fear of backlash. That tells you how far we are as a nation, as a humanity, from the fear of God. No fear of God, and we justify such filth. It hurt me.
Yeah,
I'm
this is
quotes you're saying. It's bothering me.
yeah. Look, I mean, I found plenty of quotes by people like Peter Singer that say very nasty things, and I'll cover more of that when I talk about Darwin. I mean, this is a shorter, condensed discussion, so I didn't want to like burden it with like all sorts of quotes, but you need to understand there's no, my notes are not linked from there, are they? Hold on, I will have to just drop. Let me drop my archive link.
Oh, he said they are. Lloyd's notes are linked from here, so he just shared the link.
Yeah, but that's my about page on my YouTube. Actually, this is my archive link here. I'll just drop it a couple of times in a row. Okay, so what I want to illustrate to people is that these are examples of the kind of thing you can find if you look. These are just examples of what you will find. Because I'm not trying to quote you a 400-page book here. I'm just trying to tell you, here's an example of the kind of thing you'll find if you look. And of course, atheists are not going to tell you this because atheism is the religion of peace, and they've got to lie to protect their embarrassment, right? So Marx believed that the institutions of a future communist society should be designed. Communism is paradise. So in other words, you live now on earth, but one day you will go to paradise. So socialism is the method, the methodology, the vehicle to take you to the end state of communism, where the state withers away, where no one owns anything and everything is just amazing. You know, manna falls from heaven and you'll never be cold or whatever. You don't need clothes, whatever. So this is the communism is the Marxist vision of heaven. It's their version of finding heaven. So it's really, so the future communist society should be designed and decided democratically by the people. In other words, a bunch of people are going to argue about it because there's no one leading it. So no one knows what the hell's going on. So you're going to end up with arguments. No one's going to agree. Sounds like Protestantism, right? So it will be decided democratically by the people living in it. It was not his task, he said, to write recipes for the kitchens of the future. So he left it blank because he didn't know. But the fact is, he wanted to cause chaos. If you look at when he sold his soul to Satan, he wants the world to burn. So he was deliberately writing something that would cause chaos. That was his intention. Socialism is designed to fail. It is designed to cause destruction. It is a death cult because once you die as a Gnostic, your soul is freed from this cursed matter and you join back with the monad, with Albert. So it's that simple. Though reluctant to write such recipes, many of his followers were not. Among them were his friends and co-author Friedrich Engels, finding the Marxist Übermensch. So Marx began the introduction to his 1843 critique of Hegel's philosophy of law by claiming that criticism of religion is the premise of all criticism. Someone mentioned in the chat here that he wrote that something about the religion is the opium of the people. Seriously, whenever anyone tells you anything about anything any of these people have ever said, go back and read the full quote. Read the paragraph before, read the paragraph after, because that wasn't all he said. That when you just see that little quote, you think, that sounds wonderful. So, oh my God, philosophy is so amazing. Read the bit before and read the bit after, and maybe it doesn't sound so good anymore. Okay, so he says here, man made religion, Marx explained. He sought a Superman in the fantastic reality of heaven, but found no more than a reflection of himself. You see, perfection is a reflection of you. The abolition of religion as the illusory happiness of the people is required for their real happiness. We socialists must destroy, we atheist socialists must destroy religion to bring man to true happiness. Now, he says here, okay, now notice this is from John Rendell, supposedly a photographer or some fool on my YouTube. It's not that hard. For those who believe in God, most of the big questions are answered. But for those of us who can't readily accept the God formula, the big answers don't remain stone-written. We adjust to new conditions and discoveries. In other words, we are subjective. We are pliable. Love need not be a command, nor faith a dictum. I am my own God. We are here to unlearn the teachings of the church, state, and our educational system. We are here to drink beer. We are here to kill war. Atheist communists have killed more people and caused more war in the last 100 years, in the 20th century, than were killed in the entire 1900 years before it. Right? Atheists have murdered more people in 87 years in the 20th century than the entire 1,900 years prior. We are here to laugh at the odds and live our lives so well that death will tremble to take us. So, yeah, I thought atheism was just a lack of belief, but this guy's got a bunch of ideas, Sam.
Yeah. And the teaching, I am my own God, that's Satanism. You are your own God, do what thou wilt. So there's Satanism right there. And this guy doesn't see. Or maybe he does. And, he's just couching it in this seemingly intelligent statement, which shows how stupid he is. But anyway.
It's a polite way of saying we are Satanists. Yeah. Because in the previous talk on atheism, I showed that atheism and Satanism complement each other. They are not contradictory. The philosophies are identical. Humanist principles that atheists espouse and Satanism fit like that, hand in glove. There is no conflict. Atheism is compatible with Satanism. Atheism is Satanism. Satanism is compatible with atheism. It's insane. Gramsci, cultural Marxist architect and humanist, of course. So towards the end, we'll discuss more humanism, but socialism is precisely the religion that must overwhelm Christianity. In the new order, socialism will triumph by first capturing the culture via infiltration of schools, universities, churches, and the media by transforming the consciousness of society. Do you think that's happened, Sam?
This is nothing to do with atheism. You're a Jesuit spy. All you're doing is trying to get all attention off the Catholic Church. You miserable Jesuit, you.
Yeah, the problem is that other people call me a spy, a Hasbara Jew for Israel. So I don't know, Sam. I'm a bit confused now.
I don't know, man. The Mossad and Jesuits got a connection, man. I don't know.
I don't know, Sam. It's like, and then like half these idiots are saying that like the Catholic Church started Islam. They created Islam. And then you get the other fools are going, the Jews created Islam. They started Islam. Like,
They're Catholic, but
okay.
see, it's actually you Jesuits infiltrating the churches, not these atheist socialists. You Jesuits.
I'm confused, Sam. I'm just going to read the pages and I'm not going to think anymore, okay? I'm just going to do what you pay me to do. I'm just going to read, okay? So Gramsci is foundational to intersectionality and cultural Marxism. It dismantles existing culture by ideological subversion and opposition. Opposition is satanic. Satan means the opposer. Challenging the legitimacy of existing institutions like family, religion, and political power. Saul Alinsky describes the modus operandi in Rules for Radicals. What follows is for those who want to change the world from what it is to what they believe it should be. The Prince was written by Machiavelli for the haves on how to hold power. Rules for Radicals is written for the have-nots on how to take it away. And of course, Saul Alinsky dedicated the book to Satan as the first radical.
He did, huh?
He did, yeah.
So he dedicated the book to Satan. Did you guys hear it? Because Satan was the first radical. He rebelled and opposed God. So they're acknowledging the existence of Satan. That means they know God exists. So they know they're fighting God. I mean, how do you acknowledge the existence of Satan if you're an atheist without then admitting there's a God? I don't get it, man.
Yeah.
I'm confused, man. Am I missing something here? Maybe.
I don't know, Sam. I don't know. So the Confession of Commie Faith. Okay. So Engels writes to Marx on 24 November 1847, give a little thought to the Confession of Faith or the Catechism of Faith. I think we would do best to abandon the catechetical form and call the thing the Communist Manifesto. So Marx's most famous work, the Communist Manifesto, was first called the Communist Confession of Faith. Sound familiar, Sam?
Confession of faith. Nothing to do with religion. Nothing to do with
Nope.
Satanism. Nothing to do with Islam.
No. So instead, this was a theology. Communism, as Marx created, was a theology. But communism, as he inherited from Henri de Saint-Simon, was also a theology. It was a religion. And we'll get to that. So catechetical is an adjective, religious instruction, given in preparation for Christian baptism or confirmation, a religious teaching. Oh, we can't say teach, Sam. Matthew 23:10, you can't say teach. Let no man call you teacher. So, person who gives lessons, person who gives religious,
a person who counsels, who gives some advice.
A person who says things you listen to for your education.
Advisor, counselor. I'm more comfortable.
Yeah, it's making not just my fingers, it's making my brain do the same. So religious teaching by means of question and answers. So in other words, it's indoctrinating people with religious ideas. It's not a financial or economic principle, right? Or doctrine. It's religious. Marxist communism is not an extension or logical conclusion of liberalism. It is a Gnostic mystery religion made of an inversion of Christianity, retooled into a form of magical alchemy, passing itself off as the science. That's by James Lindsay. Yeah?
What an excellent summation of Marxist communism. Was he a Marxist?
No. But he's been reading all this stuff. He's put out some fantastic video material on the topic. But notice the science. We come back to the science. Islam is all about the science, right? The hikmah, the science, right? The ilm, it's all about the science, all about the science. Trust the science, trust the science. Yep. So now we get to part two. So there's only 63 slides in this whole deck. So 62 total, including the front cover. There's only 62 slides. We are 20 something slides in, and I'll go for 20 more minutes to give you the break you need, Sam. So for your next show, but we'll go up maybe halfway. Okay. So this is Claude Henri de Rouvois, Comte de Saint-Simon. So Henry Saint Simon is what most people call him. He was born on October 17, 1760 in Paris. He died in May 19, 1825 in Paris. Good old French boy. The socialist religion. Now, socialisme is a term coined in the 1820s by this boy here. It is created by the French social theorist, one of the chief founders of Christian socialism. So modern socialism, now socialism is an idea that actually goes back thousands of years. However, socialism as we know it from Marx and the atheists, yes, the atheists, that's you, they originally called it Christian socialism. They didn't start it by calling it socialism, they said it's Christian socialism. That's where they tried to give it legitimacy by attaching it to Christianity. In his major work, Nouveau Christianisme, the New Christianity in 1825, he proclaimed a brotherhood of man that must accompany the scientific reorganization of industry and society. A brotherhood of man that, there has to be a scientific reorganization. Now, don't forget, a guy called this guy, he scientifically reorganized Germany, for instance, from 1933 to 1939. The Stalins, the Leninists of the world, they reorganized Russia on a scientific basis because they were implementing scientific socialism. See? Science. I think we should ban science because as far as I can tell, science gave us the gulag, science gave us the nuclear bomb, science gave us pollution, science gave us plastic pollution, chemical pollution, science gave us noise pollution. I think we should ban science. What do you think, Sam?
Well, science is a concoction of you Jesuits, so you can thank yourselves for this.
Swear there's no nuclear bombs being produced under the Vatican?
You would know, wouldn't you, you Jesuit? Go ahead.
Okay, I'll be a Jew tomorrow then when someone else tells me. Okay, so Henri de Saint-Simon was a nobleman who became a revolutionary, a businessman who theorized about abolishing private property. Where did we get that idea? Abolishing private property. And a man of high birth who died in misery and left the beginning of a new science that he called social physiology. And later, thanks to Auguste Comte, an outstanding disciple, would become sociology. Sociology. Communism under another name. So, the theory of the communists may be summed up in the single sentence: abolition of private property. Take away the heritage of a people, and they are easily destroyed. Karl Marx, Communist Manifesto, written in 1848. Well, I thought the World Economic Forum said that you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. But the guy who created the idea, the popular idea, said, take away the heritage and you can destroy the people. I thought it's about happiness, that capitalism is bad, but take away the heritage of a people and they are easily destroyed. I don't know, man. Sam, your thoughts?
Well, that's the thing. You're going to be happy in your destruction. They're trying to prep you that you're going to enjoy being destroyed. The greatest joy is to fade into nothingness and become one with the monad. Don't you get it? What's wrong with you? You don't see it?
They're doing you a favor. Yeah, you're right. What was I thinking? So guys, like 10 or 15 minutes more. Technocracy, a scientific dictatorship. Like I'm going to Britannica here, okay? So don't blame me, just blame Britannica and the guys, the twats who wrote this stuff. In his 1803 Letters of an Inhabitant of Geneva to his contemporaries, Saint-Simon proposed that scientists take the place of priests in society, called a technocracy. My name is, Yuval Harari, and I think that there are no human rights and you have no worth. You see, that's what science has given us. But we need to put this guy in charge because, yeah, I think we can rape people that are non-humans, unhumans, because they're disabled. See, that's scientists. That's these scientists who've all been indoctrinated to be these atheist socialists. So yeah. By 1808, Saint-Simon was impoverished and lived the last 17 years of his life on the generosity of his friends, echoes of Marx, who was also impoverished and lived off his rich friends because he squandered all his father's money and his father refused to support him. And then, of course, Engels comes in. Among his many later publications were the 1814 on the reorganization of a European society. I wonder. So, they might have an organization that wants to reorganize European society. The European want to join European societies and reorganize them. The European something,
E-
E something.
EU.
Hey
European.
you, hey you, hey
Hey,
you, hey
hey,
me.
hey, together naturally. I had a
Sounds like
dream.
a
That's right. Lionel Richie, baby.
yes. We need to. Yeah, there's a silver lining here, Sam. At least. So, and L'Industrie, 1818, in collaboration with Auguste Comte, okay, called Industry. In 1823, in a fit of despondency, Saint-Simon attempted to kill himself with a pistol, putting out his eye. Pity he didn't succeed, but okay, fine. So, as a thinker, Saint-Simon was deficient in clarity and coherence, according to Britannica, right? His influence on modern thought, especially in social science, is undeniable. So he's a sloppy thinker. The guy's an idiot, but his effect on social sciences, on sociology today in university, is undeniable. So in other words, they took his trashy ideas and it's now science. He believed that science and technology would solve most of humanity's problems, and he advocated an arrangement whereby businessmen and other industrial leaders would control society. That's fascism. That is literal fascism. So, the spiritual direction of society would be in the hands of scientists. Thanks, Sham Harris and Dawkins, and engineers who would take the place occupied by the Roman Catholic Church. Isn't that fascinating? An industrialized state directed by modern science, and one in which society would be organized for productive labor by the most capable men. Arbeit macht frei. Work makes free. I believe there was a group in Germany in the 30s that had a thing going on there. You know, organized for productive labor. The aim of society would be to produce things. Also, someone who said that look, if people don't contribute to society, they're not helping society. A guy called Darwin, I believe, was talking about if you don't contribute to society, you're a drain on society. Eugenics. The aim of society would be to produce things useful to life. Now, okay, he's before Darwin, but I understand these ideas come from a long time before Darwin was around. So the aim of society would be to produce things useful to life. And Saint Simon also proposed that the states of Europe form an association to suppress war, just like the UN. The states of Europe should form an association. I wonder, didn't we just sing about that, Sam?
Yeah, I'm still troubled by the eugenics thing. Every time you mention it, troubles my heart to think about it. To kill disabled kids and rape them, it's
Yeah,
bothering me.
this is how it is. I mean, so these ideas had a profound influence on the philosopher Auguste Comte, who worked with Saint-Simon until the two men had a fight. They quarreled. And in his best-known work, Nouveau Christianisme, the New Christianity, it takes the form of a religion concerned with the plight of the poor. Think of the poor. Think of the poor. So, in other words, welfare, the welfare state. We need to think of the welfare. We need to think about all. We need to take your money and tax you to death. So, because of the poor, you see, these ideas in America. Oh my God, you got all these. You have no borders, and millions of people are, and we got to tax you to death so you can pay for Jimmy and his wife and his 15 kids and his family to come and settle from Guatemala because you're a bigot for not wanting to help the poor. You American bigot, you see. So
Yeah.
before the publication of De Vogue Christianisme, Saint Simon had not concerned himself with theology, but in his work, beginning with the belief in God, he tries to resolve Christianity into its essential elements. That's deconstructionism. And he finally propounds the precept that religion should guide the community towards the great aim of improving as quickly as possible the conditions of the poorest class, the welfare state. This became the watchword of the entire school of Saint Simon. Christian socialism of the mid 19th century attempted to apply the social principles of Christianity to modern industrial life. Jesus did not bring an industrial, modern, technocratic religion. He did not do that. But okay. They advocated, among other things, that inheritance rights should be abolished, which is what Marx wanted. Because that money, when you die, your kids don't get anything from you. That money goes to the state. The state uses it so that capital could leave the hands of the self-seeking capitalists and be placed at society's disposal. And the term Christian socialism was first appropriated by a group of British men, including Frederick Denison Morris, novelist Charles Kingsley, John Malcolm Ludlow, who founded a movement that took shape in England immediately after the failure of the Chartist agitation of 1848. Their purpose was to vindicate for the kingdom of Christ its true authority over the realms of industry and trade, because Jesus came to hold authority over the industry and trade. He was actually the minister for trade and industry for God. And for socialism, its true character as the great Christian revolution of the 19th century. Your thoughts, Sam?
Yeah, I want people to take one thing away. I hope you remember all the facts, and I remember using them. You understand the welfare state is deliberately designed to keep you enslaved to the government and the powers that be. Because if you depend on them for your food and clothing and shelter, you're going to have to do whatever they tell you to do. Otherwise, you'll be cut off and you'll be left to die, starve, or they'll kill you. You understand the welfare state? It's designed to bring about this utopia, this Marxist, socialist, atheist, satanic agenda. You guys understanding this? Are you seeing this has been planned for a while? And you have some states in America, and I've been also told Australia, it's a welfare state that the Australian government pretty much pays everyone's bills. That's how they ensnare you to do what they want you to do. Otherwise, you'll be cut off. We need to not depend on the government. May the Lord Jesus give us power to trust in him. So keep in mind what he's telling you here, because this is preparing for the man of sin when he comes, and you cannot buy or sell unless you swear allegiance to him. Revelation 13.
Yeah. So understand, the poor are dependent on the state for money to eat, right? And those who have money are being sucked dry by the state until they also become poor. And then you all are dependent on the state, and the state can then kill you at their leisure, right?
By the way,
so
Lloyd, one more comment. I just want to make this comment. That's why in America, they're trying to erase the middle class. In America, you in America, you're not dumb. Well, I'm not stupid. I'm not as stupid as I look. They're erasing the middle class because they just want poor and the elite, so that everyone is poor and depend on the elite. This is what they're trying to do in America. May the Lord Jesus stop that, and may the Lord return sooner than later.
And by implication, this means that Christianity, remember, they're trying to make a fake Christianity. They're trying to say this is Christ's message. Christ wants this, welfare for the poor, as if that's like 100% of Christian doctrine, as if that's 100% Christ's message. What this is telling you is that Christianity is by default the opposite of this. Christianity by default creates independence. Understand, Christianity is clearly keeping this from happening. That's why they must destroy your faith. Your faith makes you believe that you can build your own future, makes you strong. So understand why Christianity is important. So 4 years after Karl Marx characterized religion as the opiate for the people, Kingsley, probably unaware of Marx's phrase, asserted that the Bible had been wrongly used as an opium dose for keeping beasts of burden patient while they were being overloaded. So the church was trying to use you and abuse you, and as a mere book to keep the poor in order, as a political manual. In Politics for the People, 1848. These ideas probably come from Greek philosophers, some dumbass Greek philosopher from 2,000 years ago. Right, and so we're halfway. I'll finish this slide maybe, Sam, and then I'll just call it a day. Right. Has this been helpful? Sam, what have you learned so far? There's like 5 minutes. What have you learned? What have you taken away from this?
I've learned millions of stuff I had not known, but you've only reinforced that socialism, atheism, Satanism, they're all the same system, what different masks. But the most troubling, the most difficult thing for me to hear you was to quote that Peter Singer guy to say pretty much you can rape disabled children, and how Richard Dawkins, Margaret Sandler, all of them had this in mind to murder misfits. And it's not just going to stop with disabled children. It will also result in having people whom they think are not fit to exist in society or oppose their system be cut off and killed as well. It's not just,
so Darwinism legitimized this as science. understand that Darwinism legitimized all of these evil ideas we've discussed. Darwinism legitimized all of this as science. You'll learn about that when you discuss Darwin. So Jesus, Christian socialist industrialist. In the name of Jesus. So inspired by the writings of Philippe Joseph Benjamin Bouchez, whatever, a disciple of Saint-Simon, and by the emergence of cooperative societies in France, John Ludlow, raised and educated in France, enlisted other churchmen to promote the application of Christian principles in industrial organization. I'm not sure how that works, but okay. Stirred by the sufferings of the poor, remember that's their version of Christianity, taking teachings they want to abuse. So stirred by the sufferings of the poor, just like Marx was, the poor, oh my God, the people in the factories. Ludlow's group vigorously criticized socially conservative Christianity, oh my, and laissez-faire attitudes, urging other measures that cooperation replace competition. We need to work together. We shouldn't do this whole, no striving. They joined forces with the cooperative movement and financed several small societies that favored partnership and profit sharing. Socialism, in other words. They created the Council for Promoting Working Men, blah, 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 which was dissolved in the 1850s. Didn't last. Okay, none of the ideas lasted. Some members of the movement continued working for cooperativism, socialism, in other words, but the capitalist version of socialism. However, numerous Christian socialist organizations were formed in the 1880s and 90s in England. So this idea hit hard, and notice that these ideas took off very hard originally in countries that were very, very, say, Protestant countries. These ideas were very much, because once you get into Unitarians, the Unitarians were big into this nonsense. So yeah. Okay, maybe I can stop here because I'm like halfway now.
All right.
So,
Lord Jesus willing, next Thursday, God willing, there's going to be a part 2. But guys, go to his YouTube channel, subscribe, watch his videos, invite him to your own platforms, get his doc, his files, he gives them, but you got to use them responsibly. More importantly, learn these facts and you multiply them. You have to share these facts. May the Lord Jesus give us the power, not only just to take this in, share it. We are the voice, the hands and feet of our Lord. We are his soldiers to destroy darkness and annihilate, obliterate these lies and expose the satanic agenda. So go to his channel, subscribe, support prayerfully, financially, and keep encouraging him and invite him to your channels. And you can take my material. You don't need to ask me. Take them, upload them, translate them by the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ. And in about 31 minutes, I'm going live. I have to do a live stream a little earlier because I have something to do later. So Lord Jesus willing, join me 31 minutes on something different, little more easier to swallow than what I heard about this guy, Peter Singer. And this scumbucket is still alive, huh?
yeah, no, he's still out there talking happily about murdering people because it's all for the good of science, right?
And no one does anything to him, huh?
Someone asked if I've done any work on Constantine. Look, we don't have to. Constantine invented the Bible.
Yes,
exactly. And
exactly.
Constantine invented Christianity in 325 AD. I mean, like, what else do you need to know?
Exactly, man. Dude, come on. Don't you know that? Constantine created the Trinity, dude. And he created the pagan Catholic Church, and he was there being helped by a Jesuit even before there was a Catholic Church. All right,
yeah.
So,
and if you ask the Muslims, he was the son of Pontius the Pilate.
Yeah.
Sorry. Actually, no. According to Muslim scholars, he was the son of Pontius
they're
Pilate.
stupid, man. They don't know chronology. They don't know nothing about chronology. Just stupid because they follow a stupid demon who's burning in hell named Muhammad. Glory to Jesus Christ. But guys, are you seeing atheism is a lot more dangerous than Islam in one front? The atheists, the socialists, when I say atheism, I'm including socialism, I'm including fascism, because they're in power. The socialists, fascists, atheists, they're in power. They're running the governments, they're influencing policies, they're in your schools, they're teaching your children. That's much more dangerous than Islam on one level. It's not a joke. They're teaching your children. They have infiltrated the schools. They have infiltrated government policies. They're the elite, the upper echelon. May the Lord Jesus expose them and erase them and protect his children, protect his church. So there you go.
Just in case people want to know, it's Pontius the Pilate. During the flight out of Egypt, Pontius the Pilate was the guy that was flying the pyramids where the Jews were stuffed into, and he flew them.
No, but he was flying them Iraq, man. What's wrong with you? Burak.
No. How do you get a million Jews on a Burak? You put them inside the pyramid. You pack them in.
Allahu
Pontius
Alam, man.
Pilate.
Allahu Akbar. That's what makes Allah great, you kafir. Man.
You don't know about pyramid technology, Sam.
You're right. Ancient alien. Yeah, you're right.
Ancient Egypt technology. What is this? Don't you watch Ancient Aliens?
Hang around too much with my mod, Protestant believer, right? But he's having a bad effect on me. But any final words, brother? Because I'm going to have to wrap up and get ready.
No, that's
guys.
it. Yeah, you got to go. That's why I ended here. So, yeah, that's it from you guys. Thanks. Hopefully, you've learned something.
Next week, Thursday, God willing, part 2. And keep praying. Go to his channel, support him prayerfully, financially. Lord willing, see you in half an hour. Christ is risen. Risen indeed. Take care, guys.
God bless everyone. Bye.